In this video help, we're going to be on the client input editing screen. We're going to cover what's going on this screen. Let's start out by telling you about the CID. This is a number that is assigned to each new record for each client, and it's actually created when you're actually over here in the sales team. When you create this line here in the portal, it'll automatically then create the client record for the input record. So what you're doing is you're taking one salesperson who's creating one to the number of clients. Now, the client information that you have in here is reused on all the different screens as far as the information, with the parent being the ID number one all the way through those screens. So let's go ahead and look at some of the stuff that's here. We got the company, the client company information, their address, city, state and province if they're outside the U.S. or North America, zip postal, that can be anywhere in the world, their main phone, their sales phone, their marketing phone, and their website. Now, what I'm going to do is come up here to the Do Action menu and go back to the first record, which has more data in it. And you'll see that I've got the Google site up here. If I click on this website thing right here, it's going to bring up the actual Google site within the application. And when you're using it in the application, you can navigate anywhere on the net, and you can see how fast it is. It's actually faster to open websites on this than it is on the cloud or on the web, which is quite interesting. Another thing about this, it has a place for client notes. And notes usually are things that are specific to client issues. If a client has an issue or needs assistance about a specific thing. Because there are many screens here that are going to cover some of the things that you would not have to put issues in. For example, we're going to go through each one of these screens and show you what's in them and explain how they're used. But before we do that, let's jump over here and say, if you have a full address here and you click on the map, what it's going to do is it's going to present that map and location within the application so that you can go to where you want to go. I'm going to get rid of this. And at the same time, if you pull over from the side, you can sign in and get more features and stuff that are included in Google Maps. And for example, you can do traffic, transit, bicycle, and satellite view, but other settings, and add your own maps in and save them within the application and bring them back up whenever you want to. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with the map thing, but My Maps is where you actually say, save this map that I'm looking at, and then name it, and then when you come back to My Maps, it'll be listed where you can pick it. So it doesn't have to be in the same record that you're in over here, but it'll provide you with the address for the map that you actually are working on. Now, to get out of here, you can either click back on the map or anywhere on the screen that's open, not right on the map, it'll hide it. The same thing happens with the balance of the popovers. Popovers are basically a modal screen that will pop up, and the only way to get rid of it is to click off of it. Starting out with prospects. Prospects are pretty straightforward. You can create a prospect that goes into the prospect portal screen, and you can create any number of them for this particular client. Or what you're doing here, or say for example, this client gives you information about a prospect within the company, or something is a prospect that you want to track as far as a new possible booking or proposal that you may be doing. So this information is provided. If you go over to the portal itself, which is the prospect portal, you'll see the information reflected here, but you'll see larger areas that you can add information, and the information you're putting in here is basically cold calling for prospects or advertising for prospects, and the budget that you're using to do that kind of work is in here. So when you're in the marketing group, you can say, well, we're going to be working on X amount of things for this particular salesman, and his budget is in this period of time is to do this. And then he can create a new record in that main screen that we're looking at over in the client screen. He can have each new prospect that he's working and track how he's doing it, cold calling or advertising. And if this client has a website, it works like the other one, where you can open it up and see their website and look at what they do and how they do things and what their products may be and what you're doing for them. Let's go back to the client screen again, the input screen. The next one we're going to be looking at is the client follow-up. If you've already contacted the client and now he's asked you to get back to him at a specific date and time as a follow-up, or you have a specific period of time you wait until you go back with say a cold call or whatever, and follow it up to make sure that you are getting the information that's required. You can go over to the view of the actual prospect screen. You can see you have a large notes area. You have an infinite number of space you can put in there. And you have another place where you can put in the website for that cold call. Say, for example, this cold call is done and it's a new client that you're adding and it's not in the prospect screen. You can actually still add their information into the follow-ups. And you can see here have address, city, state, and zip, phone, 1, 2, and email and website. So there's a lot of information that's very useful there. And the next contact you have in here is for the next time you're supposed to contact this person. If you created a contact, say on the same day, and you have to call them back, you can put up a follow-up and then put in here in the time you're supposed to call them back, and then whatever notes that go along with that on your iPad as far as what you're supposed to be doing when you call them back. Now, for people that haven't used CRM in the past, this is gold. Because basically what you're doing is you're tracking everything that you're contacting the client about and you're making notes on it. I was in a large engineering company and a smaller engineering company over the years. And when you're contacting clients and interacting with them, you run into situations when you're working with them that something is said and later on it can be misunderstood, or say a client is actually purposely misunderstanding so that he can get a little lead on you as far as maybe pricing or whatever, saying that you gave him a number or something like that. Well, it's best to have everything you offer to a client that has anything to do with something you have to honor documented. It's very critical that you do that, because later on you may have somebody come back and say something that you didn't say, and here you've got date, time, and all the conversation information that you want to have in there. The next thing we're going to be looking at is client documents. What is that? This is a case where maybe you have a brochure or a drawing or anything that you have that you want to send to a client, and you want to document you sent it, what day you sent it, who you sent it to, and the mail address that it was sent to, the type of document, and when it was, the date it was mailed. And then you go over here again to the portal, and you'll see in the portal that you have all that same information. For example, it might be a contract draft, going to this company, going to this person, is either mailed or emailed or somehow it was transported. The mailing date, mailed via, if it's like you sent it on DHL or whatever, you would have that information in here, the date they received it, and the document information as far as notes that you want to put in there about the document and how it's supposed to be either edited by them or whatever. Maybe it's part of a specification for a proposal or requirements, and that's the kind of stuff you want to be tracking, saying that you have found that information and they got it, and it's something that you want to follow up on. The next one is action items. This is very important. If during a meeting or a telephone conversation or somewhere where you're at dinner with somebody and they make something that they want you to do, you can put all that information in here and then go back to the portal and have that information available to you saying that you're supposed to do something. For example, action name person is this person and they're supposed to do something. And maybe there's another person in your group that's supposed to be doing something from that particular incident where you had contact with them. The action date is the action date when it started. And then the science down here is that you put in there whether or not it's completed or not, or whatever you did to close that out and make sure that it was done. Going back to the client input again, the next thing is the proposal portal. You can probably imagine what this does. This is a proposal start date, end date, estimated, proposal manager on your company side, the proposal budget to develop the proposal, the delivery date and who you're going to be delivering it to. And again, you go to the portal and you have large area spaces where you can put that data in here. Proposal team assignments, who's actually working on it, and what were the requirements that you're supposed to be answering to for an RFP. Or it could be the other way around. Maybe you're providing requirements to a vendor and you're talking about team members in your side or team members on their side. You can do it either way, but this is how you track those kinds of information for client proposal development to make sure that you have an ongoing diary of all that information. And of course, it's transferring the information basically it's got the company name of the company you're working with, the proposal delivery date, and so forth. That's all critical information as far as you're concerned. The contract, following from the proposal, and you're going to build the contract. You're doing the same thing over here, and you can look at whatever contract it is and date, and you can have all your contracts with this client, for this particular client, in here. You can go in and you can say, okay, the action, in this case, you can go to the action portal and do the situation where you're looking at that particular proposal. If you wanted to navigate to the next one, it's the booking portal. What is this? The booking portal is you sign the contracts now, and you want to track all the contracts that are signed at any one time. And you can do a find from the actual individual portal if you wanted to go look at it to see what different dates, different date ranges, or whatever you actually did something with this client. You're looking at who was the booking manager as far as bringing the client information in. What was the value of that particular contract? Who was the project manager for that particular process? And who, for the booking project budget, what was the budget for the contract or for the booking, yes. And then the project start and end dates, and then the notes as far as what are you going to track in that particular information as far as significant milestones that were met or things that were issues during it. So later on for the boilerplate, when you're going to do another contract with them, if you had any issues or anything that they prefer you to do things in a certain way, that's what these booking notes were about, to make sure that you get all the information that's provided and that you need to keep track of. Deliverables, very critical. Again, this is a situation where you have the actual equipment company, the deliverable date, the it's hard to say, deliverable type. It could be hardware, software, booking information, or whatever it might be. Whatever you're developing that is a deliverable, or they're coming to you for, the deliverable name and description. Now, if I go back in here and I drop this out of the way, and I go back to the original record that was in there, let's go to the actual booking portal, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you come over here and go to the booking portal, you can go to the booking list, and you would have a list view for each individual job that is being done, and the booking portal. You go in, you click, and now you're in this way. Now I want to show you this, that if you look on this menu, you have all these different list views that are related to the portals that we were just looking at. So if I click on this one for follow-ups, I've got that one. If I go in and I want to look at the client inputs, I have them all here. So list views are a way to do searches on all the items where it shows all the records, and you can go to the Do Action menu and do a find, bring up exactly what you're looking for, and print what you want to look for. Here's one for client prospects. Now I only have one in here right now because I'm not going to fill up the database with data that has to be overwritten, but basically you can go over and do a do find by start find and perform find. While we have this Do Action menu open, you're going to notice that there's no new record button here. It's purposely taken out because there are certain screens in the application where you do not add records. So what I'm telling you is if you go to any screen where, say for example, I have a client prospect, if I look at it here and there's no button to make a new record, that's telling you that that record needs to be created in the client record. And it then is annotated over here from the client record. So if I go back to the client record, any of those client popovers here, this is what you use to add records to those portals. You can edit them in the portal, or you can edit them over here. For example, I can click in here and add data and edit them, or I can go to the individual portals and annotate additional information in those portals. So you can see I can go over here really quickly and do that. Or I can go back and I can say I want to go to a different client prospect and have them all listed where I can do a find, or just scroll down and pick one of them. And they're in there by date and alphabetically by prospect name. So it makes it simple to find things that you're looking for. Here's the booking list view, for example. And the last thing we're going to be covering in the next video is the product list view and more information about the products and how they're used. So everything that should have been covered already in this video will cover 90% of everything that's in here in the application and how it's used. The last thing we'll be doing is the product and product list view. Thank you.